Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we are going to be going on to another big challenge on the Motostandard 1010 project, which is fixing the damaged wheel. This is the damaged one and this is the good one. So today our challenge will be trying to make this damaged one usable again. Now the first thing that we did was some measurements on the good wheel. Now we're focusing on this tube part here, which has a 27mm outside diameter around here, and we will be working in millimeters today, seeing as this is a metric tractor. And then the inside diameter in there is 23mm. Then the last measurement we took on this was the length of the pipe going through, which is just over 69mm, but for our purposes we'll round it down to 69mm. Now we have bought some things to help us with this job. First thing we bought was this, which is a length of seamless pipe, which has a 27mm outside diameter, which is the exact outside diameter of the pipe in the good wheel. Now obviously on this broken wheel you can see there's not much of the original pipe left on either side, but if we try and put this new stock in here, it doesn't quite fit in, so we're hoping we can just open this up a tiny bit, get all of this mess off, and we're hoping that'll just go straight through. However, since that is worn so much, that might not work. So just in case that doesn't work, we've got some other pipe. Again, this is seamless, and this has an outside diameter of 28.25mm, so it is bigger, and this is just in case there isn't enough material in here and we have to drill it out further. We can then put this through. And in both cases, with both bits of pipe here, we're going to have to drill out the centres, because these are thicker walled bits of pipe than the pipe in the good wheel. Now the first thing we need to do before we get started on this wheel is take the tyre off. In the past, someone appears to have replaced the tubes with these ones with these almost right angle valves on them, but unfortunately the valves have kind of gone through the wheels. So we're hoping we can reuse these tubes since they hold air well, but we need to pull them back through. Of course, that's last thing to do pretty much. Once we've ideally fixed this wheel, all we need to do for now is take the valve out of the tube so that we can let the air out of it and we can get the tyre off of the rim.
I don't think there's too much air in there.
It doesn't appear to be. There's the valve. There you go, you can't really hear much air escaping. We won't need the tyre changer to break the bead on this wheel, because as you can see, the tyre just pushes away from the rim, which is good. Now I'll put this on the side. Now what we use for these smaller wheels, because they won't go in our tyre changing machine, is we use this contraption, which is just a long bolt with this plate welded on it. This goes in the vise here, just tighten that up, and then one washer goes one side of the wheel, this washer goes on the other side of the wheel. Then you tighten the nut up and then the wheel won't turn in the vise, and then you can use tyre levers to get the tyre off. We now have the tyre and the tube off of the wheel. It wasn't too difficult, but we didn't video it because it had the possibility to be difficult and isn't the most entertaining job. Now what we did after that was we've inflated the tube and gone around it to check there's no punctures, and there isn't, so that's all good. And what we noticed as we were taking this tyre off is someone appears to have damaged the tyre when they were taking it off in the past, which is obviously not great. And we also ran our hands around the inside of this tyre to make sure there's no thorns or anything that might become a problem in the future. Now, with the rim off, we can now see the construction of it. You can see it appears to be welded around here, the two halves that go together. And also, it would have been welded around the outside of the tube that goes through the centre. Now, we also took some pliers and just got off all of the flaky bits here. All of the stuff we could get off, we did, from both sides. And now, we need to work out how we're going to enlarge that hole. So, if we head over to the lathe here, we need to make sure, obviously, that our hole is exactly in the centre. So we're going to be using the lathe. And you can't really mount it this way because there's nothing good to grip onto on the inside. So we're going to have to switch these chuck jaws over to these ones, which go inwards like this, meaning that they will grip to the outside of the wheel, not the inside, and hopefully get a good grip on this so that we can mount it in here and drill the centre out. We now have the outside jaws on the lathe chuck and the rim is in there, and it did take us quite a while to get that level, but it is now all set up with the boring bar on the tool post. Now we're going to try and get rid of some of that weld that's around the outside first before going through. Not fully sure that the boring bar is the right tool for this, but it's the only thing that we can get in there to do it, so that's what we're going to be using. Now the first part we did off camera because we were a bit nervous. We faced this part now, and what we were looking for was a joining line between the main bit of the rim and the pipe that goes through there, and we haven't found one, which we were expecting to see one of where the two join, but there clearly isn't. So what we're going to do is use the boring bar from the inside of here now, and bore outwards very slowly to 27mm, which is the outside diameter of our new pipe, and hopefully we'll open that up to the right size so that can go through. And we're not fully sure how well this will work. It is still welded on this side because we haven't obviously surfaced the other side yet, so if something does come loose, hopefully that side will keep it stuck together. update now. As you will have just seen, we kept boring out the inside, and as you can see there now, we are at the point where we've gone through this bit of tube. Through there is the inside of the rim, so we stopped. What we definitely don't want to do is keep going through and turn all of this pipe into chips, which then just end up staying inside the rim and make a horrible noise forever. So we're pretty confident that with how thin that is now, we could probably get a screwdriver in there and just flick the stuff up. However, we do have the issue of the other side, because we hadn't gone all the way through at that thickness. So what we're probably going to have to do now is turn it around and get it to about that thickness on the other side. We now have the wheel turned around, and we're going to just face this side so that we don't have that lip from the old tube. Faced off this side and also touched off inside, and that's given us a hole again. So now both sides have gone through the tube. We can have a bit of a hack about in there with the screwdriver, see how much of that tube we can get out, and also the bits that will have gone into the wheel from us going through there. I think we've just about got that loose now. Yeah, we have, and we've crumpled it. That is the old pipe out now, which that is good news. It means that now we can take this down to the size we need and put ours through. With the centre part removed, our smaller piece of pipe fits through with no issues, and it is relatively tight in there. And what we're going to do now is take the wheel off, and it is time for us to make our spindle out of this piece of pipe, which we'll probably need to put the other jaws on for when we're facing and doing all of the other bits and pieces to this piece of pipe. Now, our plan for the spindle, as you can see, we're here with the bandsaw, and we're going to cut this to length. Then once we've done this, we've left a bit of excess on each end, so that way you can put that in the lathe and face off both ends. Make sure we have nice flat ends on each side and get it down closer to the exact measurement, and then we can look at trying to put it into the rim. Just taking this out of the lathe, we've faced off both sides and put a little chamfer on both sides too. Now, if we look at how this goes into here, this side, you can see it's a tiny bit loose, and then on the other side it is an interference fit, so that makes it work quite well, and we're pretty happy with that. So now we're happy with the outside, we need to work on the inside of this. Currently the inside diameter is 20 millimeters, which is the outside diameter of our stub axle, although that won't go on there. And what we need to do is enlarge this hole in there to be 23 millimeters, which is the outside diameter of the bushes that we will be putting in here, and the bushes that were in the other good wheel, so that will match up. So now we need to work out how we're going to drill through here to make that a 23 millimeter hole. We are all set up on the lathe now, And the drill bit that we've got here is actually 7/8, which I know we said we were going to stick to metric, but we've done some conversions, and this should be 22.225 millimeters. So that will bring us within 0.8 millimeters of where we need to be with the inside diameter of this bit of pipe. So this should be a good first pass. We're not doing the starting bit with our boring bar because it is too big to get into the 20 millimeter hole that is there at the moment. So let's start drilling. Jumping ahead a bit now, after we ran through the centre with the drill, we then used our boring bar to take it out to 23 millimeters, and we're not especially happy about the finish we got from our boring bar, so I think we might have to get a bit more practice using that tool, because we're not fully sure what caused that finish to not be very nice. Now we're moving on to working out how we can actually weld our new spindle into the centre of the rim. Now we took some measurements from the good wheel, like putting this block here and measuring how far this part sticks out from the centre, and also how far below this straight edge it is, the straight edge going from the outside of the rim. And we think we've now got that set up correctly in here. The setup you can see here is an old 3-jaw lathe chuck, which we recently resurrected from the dead, and that has our spindle part mounted in it, and it has the tighter side on the underside and the looser side on this end of the wheel, which you can kind of see the gaps there. Now the idea being that keeps the spindle part at 90 degrees, because that's how a 3-jaw chuck works. And then we've pushed this wheel down as far as possible, and we've taken some angle measurements, and we're quite happy with how that is sitting. So what we've got to do now is give it a quick small tack with the hot metal glue gun, and then we can check our measurements again, and then see if we're happy to weld all the way around it. We've got a couple of tacks on this side now, and we took it out of the chuck and put it into the lathe so we could check alignment and the angles of stuff on there, and we're pretty happy with it, or as happy as we're going to be. Now obviously we've only got 2 tacks on there at the moment. What we're now going to do is put another 2 on here and here, so we've got 4 points of contact on this side, and then we'll flip it over and put 4 on the other side when we're happy with alignment, and then we'll check it again and go all the way around on both sides. We have now completely welded it, and this side, which is the inside, you can see is quite clean welding. However, we did encounter a bit of a problem on the other side. We appeared to have blown a hole through the rim while we were welding it. Not fully sure how that happened, but we patched that all up, and we've cleaned it up a bit to make it look at least a tiny bit presentable on this side, which is a shame seeing as that's the outside, so that's the bit that people will see. However, with that in there, this job is effectively finished, and that's another difficult job ticked off the list. Now, in the background, off camera, we will give this a lick of paint and then put the tube and the tyre back on so that this is ready to go on the tractor. I'm glad that we do have another difficult job done now. But that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.